Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, the School of Love. My name is Maria and I am helping people discover their inner potential for love towards themselves and towards the others. From the very beginning, I must emphasize the fact that this channel is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. With that being said, let's dive right into today's topic, which is self-love, or in Judeo-Christian nomenclature, neighborly love, and as emphasized as summed up in the concept of, or in the paradigm of, love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you are new to the channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very, very much. This helps us not only with the mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. I'm not religion researcher, so I'm not a specialist on theology or theologically related research areas, but as a regular citizen, this is a topic which has tormented me, I would say, for a long while now. So what is self-love? What is healthy self-love? And how do we differentiate it from selfishness? Or even from narcissism. To start with, let's look a little bit at its religious meaning, religious origins. So, love your neighbor as you love yourself, which is the starting point, starting paradigm of today's video, might be understood, might be comprehended as the fundamental teaching of Christianity, replacing the precept from Old Testament, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. It is in itself a very hopeful and merciful idea, which stems, in my opinion at least, also from the fact that Jesus Christ was young when he died, so roughly 33, 34 years old, not like the patriarchs and old sages from other religions, including Judaism. And we all know nowadays that's when so many people live long lives and have very high life expectancies, that the older we get, the more bitter and entrenched in our own suffering, and the more resentment we tend to accumulate, which then leads to a not only cynical worldview, but also a worldview which is loaded with resentment and revengefulness. So in this context, imagine how it is to be old and bitter and vile and jealous of the young. It takes effort to be able to explore oneself and to see your own suffering and projection of that suffering onto the others. And as Jordan Peterson, one of those controversial figures of current times, as Jordan Peterson points out, if one lives long enough, it inadvertently comes at a point when one has to ask oneself, what is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of my life, or one's own life? What is the meaning of life? It is bad enough if you ask yourself this question when you were young, in your 30s, let's say, but imagine having to ask yourself this question in your 50s or worse, in your 60s. Not pretty. And believe it or not, there are societies in this world where this question is never asked because the highlight comes on the collectivist structure of the community and not on the individual as a member of that community. This is why, in my perspective, individualism is so important, because it is from individual excellence and individualistically driven excellence that actually collective excellence emerges and becomes sustainable. If you try to build up communities over individual structures by suffocating the sense of individual, it might last in times and in those long centuries where people lived a couple of 15, 20, 25 years. And that was the average life expectancy of a human being up to 150 years ago. But if we live lives which are expected to last 100 plus years, then the sooner we develop a sense of self, of who we are as individuals, the faster we can gather the courage and attain the commitment, the sense of commitment to develop into the direction which allows us to become our best selves, and then to impact in a positive manner those around us. So if I come back now to the paradigm of love yourself as love your neighbor as you love yourself, I must point out, I must highlight the fact that it has two parts: love your neighbor as you love yourself. So, and as it is often the case, the second part gets lost in translation, gets lost in interpretation. So, and in order to give away what I'm pointing at, is that you cannot love those around you if you do not love yourself. So before trying to be there for others, you have to be there for yourself. And in everyday life, we have this model when we get on a plane, so-called airplane principle, when they say, in case of emergency, put your oxygen mask on your face first, and then go and try to help the others. There's a fundamentally important, a crucial differentiation. We forget it sometimes, but this idea of take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others is, I would say, in such eras in which we'll get to live over 80, 90, 100 years, knowing who you are and knowing and trusting who you are, trusting your judgment, is actually essential in becoming an asset to those around, for yourself and to those around you, instead of a liability. So this is why I will start with the second part, self-love. So in order to love the others, you have to love yourself first. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So what is this love yourself? What is self-love? So self-love is a sense of understanding that, of taking care of yourself, treating yourself with care and compassion, understanding on a very deep level that you matter. And not only that you matter, but that you are important. You are as important as any star in this universe, as any leaf in this universe, as any worm in this universe. You are as important. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. The fact that you are here is a miracle. And taking care of you, of yourself, as if you are a miracle, because you are a miracle, this is what self-love is all about. And we need self-love. Each of us needs self-love. And we need, like when we are born, we are very narcissistic because we depend so much on others. We totally depend on others. We cannot survive without the others. When we are born naked into this world without any protection, not even our immune system works in order to protect us. So we are totally dependent on others. And in order to overcome that total dependence on others, we come equipped with a very deep sense of narcissism. We are the center of the universe. We do not understand the others. We do not understand that others are there too for themselves. No, they are for us, to serve us. And of course, in healthy persons, this sense of absolute narcissism then develops into more or less healthy sense of self, and then of being of service to others. Because this is essentially what the meaning of life, in my opinion. To be so complete and so deep in yourself that you can be of service to others without getting depleted in the process. So, because if you do not take care of yourself, you will be depleted, and then you'll be sick, then you'll become a liability to others. You won't be able to perform, you won't be able to be of service. You'll become someone that others have to take care of. And of course, at some point, if we live long enough, or if we do not live in a healthy manner, we become a liability to others. But it's a difference if we become such a problem, a liability in our 30s, 40s, or in our 80s, 90s. Personally, and I've read this in several books, personally, I'm not so much afraid of death. This is a beautiful transition, part of life, part of nature, where I go back to the place where I have come in the first place, but I'm a kind of concerned, not really worried, but concerned of all the misery and despair and dependency and suffering which comes from depending too long on others. A specific degree of depending, a couple of weeks, maybe it's okay. And we should be prepared to finance this. But depending on others, being a burden to them and not allowing them to live their own lives because they have to take care of us, this is selfishness. This is anything but self-love. This is selfishness. When we do not take care of ourselves, and then we become a burden to others, and they have to sacrifice their own lives for ourselves. This is selfishness. Self-love is when we do everything in our power to be of service, to be good, healthy, strong, and then to serve others. And how to develop healthy self-love so that you can extend it to those around you. There are two major elements, two major dimensions. One is self-awareness and the other one is boundaries. So self-awareness regularly. As soon as you get into your 20s, maybe mid-20s, when your prefrontal lobe develops fully, start to have this ritual of constantly asking yourself, who am I? What am I doing in this world? Why have I come? Why am I living? What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of my life? Where am I going? And have this ritual. And a ritual is something which happens regularly, of discovering yourself, of going deeply into yourself and understanding who you are. The second step is boundaries. Make sure that you take care of yourself by developing a healthy sense of who you are, and by letting the others know that specific things are allowed and specific things are not allowed, and that there are things you like and things you do not like, and do it as soon as possible within the interaction framework. This is something I have struggled a lot. I'm still struggling, and then I regularly end up in situations in which I feel taken advantage of, or I feel that I've done something I wouldn't have liked to do, but I did it because maybe I didn't have a choice. No, I always have a choice. It just happens that I didn't express those boundaries, that I didn't express those needs. And then some people are able to be more considerate without not push me, but some people are more selfish or more self-interested, and then they push me into situations in which I feel uncomfortable. I feel a deep sense of displeasure, but then it is already too late. So creating healthy boundaries and conveying them in a polite, comprehensive manner is a very important life skill. I have a separate video on how to develop boundaries and how to express them to those around you in a healthy, respectful manner very soon. Excuse me. Now I come back to the second part of, or actually to the first part of this symptom. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So this first part, so we refer here to neighborly love. And Hannah Arendt, one of the big philosophers of the 20th century, she had a very touching, despite being philosophical, interpretation of neighborly love, which she sees as, or she saw as, caritas. Caritas is this feeling where we, of solidarity, yeah, where we hanging together, but healthy solidarity, which doesn't turn into, for instance, codependency, has to be based, can only be based on healthy individuals. So caritas as neighborly love, as solidarity, which becomes in an over-individual context way greater than its individual members, has to be founded on healthy individuals with healthy senses of self-love, as I have described it earlier. So why is caritas necessary? Why is neighborly love necessary? Why is this healthy sense of solidarity necessary? Because it helps us overcome difficulties and it gives us a sense of belonging and of joy, which in a collective manner, I'm talking about collective, I'm not talking about collectivist, in a collective manner is very important for communities to stick together. So back in times of hardships, face to face in times of joy. This is healthy solidarity. We share difficulties, we share the joys, we share the victories, we share the defeats, we share happiness. And many people see solidarity or see the sense of neighborly love, of neighborly support, only as a means to overcome difficulties. And this is not the case. Hannah Arendt, I don't know if she explicitly refers to this, but someone who wrote about her, analyzed her work from a sociological perspective, the sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, again, in my perspective, one of the biggest names in sociology of the 20th century, he highlighted this fact that healthy solidarity, healthy neighborly love, healthy caritas refers to sharing both defeats and victories, both hardships and joys, both losses and happiness. So, and this is, you see again, this balance between positive and negative, between pluses and minuses. Because if we try to conceptualize love, self-love, neighbor love, as something which builds up only on happiness, this will lead to emptiness. If happiness is standard, then there is no happiness. But if unhappiness is standard, there's no unhappiness either. So there's always this kind of like a wave moving from exalted states to inflated states. And this is what creates or delivers creativity, motivation, and this sense of both of belonging and of belonging being a choice, not an obligation. And again, how to develop neighborly love, a healthy neighborly love, how to develop this a healthy sense of solidarity as caritas, so that you can extend it as generously as possible to those around you, both in real life and virtually, because nowadays we have to see the virtual world as an integral part of our lives. Resisting it is futile, so we have to cope with it. Not only cope with it, but actually turn it into a positive aspect of our lives. Again, like in case of self-love, in case of neighborly love as solidarity or caritas, self-awareness as an individual within the collective and as a collective itself, and boundaries. So creating this sense of who am I, who are we in relation to external factors, and then communicating that sense of individuality, respectively, that sense of a collective of individuals in a healthy and a respectful, in a proactive manner, then creates a sense of clarity, who we are versus who they are, and how can we make our interaction, our exchanges constructive and conducive to a future of prosperity for all of us. So, and I will finish this video by saying that self-love and caritas, as neighborly love, as solidarity, are fundamental forces which can lead to a future of love, peace, compassion, cooperation, and mutual respect. And then again, in order to achieve this love, love as a historical concept, that space in which we can develop to our best selves without denying who we are and without denying who those around us are. So in which there is a interactive exchange among us and with the others. So love, peace is not necessarily the antidote of war. So as someone living in 21st century, we know that war is actually part of our lives. It has always been, and all efforts to eliminate war from the face of the earth and from history actually have failed. So again, like virtual reality, we have to accept war as part of what humankind is. Again, compassion, cooperation, mutual respect, these are fundamental values which create and turn the world into a place where we can live sustainably and respectfully with ourselves and with the others. So I hope you have found interesting and motivating information in what I've been saying today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you here very soon again. Love and peace to you all.